Final Fantasy is often looked upon as the JRPG series and sometimes even the RPG series, but there's no doubt Final Fantasy has been very controversial the past few releases with fans divided on each entry. This has led to the series to lose its massive fame it once had, and on top of that, it has struggled to grow a large new audience. Then on the flip side, Persona, once a very niche series, has blown up to be huge. It's hard to look at gaming social media without seeing it, and it has done so well that it's made Atlus's other games become more popular too. So in today's video, we are going to be discussing, is Persona on track to overtake Final Fantasy as the premier JRPG? So before we dig into this topic, we need to first understand the historical impact of Final Fantasy. Rewinding back to the original Final Fantasy VII, when it came out there was nothing like it on the market at the time. It is easily one of the most impactful games in the industry, paving the way for many things that are commonplace in most games today. Square Enix then continued to deliver with Final Fantasy VIII, IX, and X, building on what made Final Fantasy VII such a hit. But after 10, they struggled to make another widely loved game in the series. Final Fantasy 11, 12, 13, 15, and 16 all have their fans, but also have their haters. Final Fantasy 14 is pretty loved, but is still off-putting to a good bit of people just since it's an MMO. The Final Fantasy quadrilogy of 7 through 10 is often hailed as the best set of RPGs of all time, but that image of the series has begun fading, and a lot of gamers these days do not view the series through that lens. If we look at the sales of the last two Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy XVI, while neither were flops, they were definitely a far cry from what the series used to sell back in the day. Now let's take a look at Persona. Persona has been a niche series for most of its existence, but Persona 5 blew up the series into the mainstream and is one of the most respected games of all time. This has made people check out prior entries like Persona 3 and 4 and fall in love with them too. Persona 3 even getting a remake which sold like hotcakes as well. Persona has blown up on social media especially, and in this modern day and age that is a big sign of fame. The song Disturbing the Peace from Persona 3 Reload even became a huge meme outside of the Persona community. I think a big difference between the Final Fantasy and Persona fan bases is just the average age. The average Persona fan is much younger, and this ties back to how Final Fantasy has struggled to grow a new audience in the modern gaming era. Just to do a little comparison, Persona 5 has sold 8.3 million units compared to Final Fantasy XVI's 3 million units and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's 2 million units. Combining these two is lower than Persona 5 sales. Now yes, Persona 5 did come out years before, but the bulk of a video game sales do come from the launch window. A large part of why Persona has become so big too is how anime it is. Final Fantasy has always had anime elements but was never full-blown anime. Persona, however, is pretty much like playing an anime, and as you may know, the anime industry has become massive the past few years. And for another comparison, Persona's success has made people want to check out the rest of the games that Atlus puts out. Their latest release, Metaphor ReFantazio, was a massive hit. Both it and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth were nominated for Game of the Year and other awards at the show. Now, why I bring this up is at the Game Awards, most people came in expecting a battle between Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Astrobot for who could win more awards and win the main award. But as the show went on, it became clear that it was actually a battle between Astrobot and Metaphor ReFantazio. Metaphor won 3 awards compared to Rebirth's 1. Looking towards the future, I think the answer to this question really lies in how Final Fantasy XVII and Persona 6 turn out. More so Persona 6. The whole world is watching to see what they can do in Persona 6 all these years later with a bigger budget and new technology. The scope of Persona 6 could very well be the biggest scope in a video game ever. So if Atlus and Sega can stick the landing with Persona 6, it might not matter how good FF17 is. So when you take everything into consideration that I have discussed, I do believe that yes, Persona is on track to take Final Fantasy's crown as the premier JRPG franchise. Which is really crazy to say, especially as a massive fan of both series, because if you compare Persona 1 to Final Fantasy VII, which both came out around the same time, nobody would ever believe that. I don't think it's a total lost cause for Final Fantasy. There are still a lot of factors in play, like Persona 6 could fumble, or Square Enix could still turn the ship around. Anything truly is possible, but like I said, I think the scales are in Persona's favor. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments what series you think will be wearing the crown in the next few years. Thanks for watching. Till next time, see ya.